What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Yes, another Lost Records Bloom and Rage video, and hopefully a trailer breakdown. I've never done one of these before. I worked in the gaming industry for many years, but never did a trailer breakdown. I never put one together in video form. So let's see how this goes. I don't know if I'll actually be in the video. I'm currently recording, but also we'll be talking of the trailer, but I'll come on to that in a minute. And obviously, if you're wondering, I'm recording this straight after the previous video I did, which was talking about the interview with the Don't Nod Montreal trio, Frederica, Luke, and Michelle, which you can go and check out on the channel. It's a bit of input in terms of what we know about Yellow Jackets and the fact that Don't Nod's game, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, predates that show's release. So it doesn't mean that the show doesn't influence it in some way, but it means that the the immediate connections where people are drawing as well. It doesn't mean that that show is basically the staple point of like building this game. There's probably so many different influences affecting that. But yeah, this is recorded on. I'm basically recording this video straight after that one as well. So if you're wondering why I'm wearing the same clothes, but anyway, if you are new here, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn on notifications, share the video, and like with your friends. It helps support the channel. As I said, it's a very small channel. And if you are new here, welcome. I do cover a lot of Lost Records news. We've actually been covering this game for years, even before it was announced, because we have a podcast called StrangeCast, which I host with my co-host Adam and Adam. It's a Life is Strange podcast, but also one that focuses on Deck 9, Don't Nod. We've had developers on there, we've actors on there, we've had people from the community on there, we've had all kinds of people on there. Go and check it out. It's on the channel. It's on all RSS feeds. But as I said, we've been covering Don't Nod Montreal's game, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, for a long time on there, which was more so when it was previously unannounced. But we're here back again on the channel. Hopefully this come out before the end of the year. I'm going to really push for it, but I've never done anything like this before. So I just wanted to give you my input on the reveal trailer. And this is just my own personal thoughts. I have not watched anyone else's reactions. I've not taken anyone else's theories. This is my own pure theories about it. If I do say something else that is completely coincidental, if someone else has talked about it, but this is my own personal experience. I haven't watched anyone else's videos to see anything else of it. And if you've ever been here on the channel as well, you'll know that I basically credit everyone. I did it with one of my videos where I mentioned what Life is 2D sent to me on like one of the, was it on Twitter? They said something to me, and it's like, I give credit where it's due. So these aren't necessarily like, I don't take other people's ideas, but I don't need to defend that anyway. Anyway, get away from the ramble. But this is my own theories. This is what I've kind of experienced. So I will be removing all the audio from the trailer because in itself, I don't want to get hit by a copyright strike or something. But we'll just pick it apart piece by piece, and my future self will edit it. And hopefully he has good luck with doing this. But we'll just pick it apart, and I'll give you what I think about certain things, what I've seen, and some of my theories about things. Obviously, now we've seen the trailer, I've had time to kind of like pick it apart. I watched this trailer like God knows how many. I can't tell you how many times to watch this trailer, but either way, let's get into it because this will be quite exciting. So we'll kick things off. Obviously, start off with play. It seems pretty simple, but we're reliving this moment. I have a funny feeling that the trailer gives you a lot in terms of like where the game's going to go. In terms of we could even just be playing as adults for the most of the part of the game, and you only live these experiences as teenagers through the cassette tapes. Like you might just play the main game as adults, if anything. So this is just the start of the trailer. We've got to play, so we're going to go back to it. And obviously we know that the videotape was a big part of Don't Nod Montreal's brand, as we'll move on to there, where you see the videotape. We knew this for a while, so it's quite exciting nonetheless that we have quite exciting. We have a kind of idea of where they're going to go with this, that we're going to we have a massive time gap between two different sets of people, from adults to teenagers. So that's just simple as it gets. Obviously, the trailer starts very quickly with just a play. We know that the videotape is a big part of the Don't Nod Montreal branding and the logo, and obviously for this game in the Lost Records universe. Interesting theories in itself. Like, I don't know if you'll be playing the entire game as like the adults, for example, and then you only go back into the past and play as their teenage self through the videotapes or certain segments. It'll be quite interesting to see what it is, but obviously it feels like this trailer is like we're playing from a certain memory, which is this memory that's in the trailer, and that will probably be a catalyst for what we see when we jump into the future. So all quite exciting just to see. I've watched this trailer so many times, it's so exciting. But it's quite interesting to see what happens there. And obviously we have the videotape here as well, which comes up in the trailer. As I said, the colors are very much associated with their brand, Don't Nod Montreal and like this Lost Records universe specifically. It's in pretty much all the other stuff that's been seen in the trailer, especially the pink. Pink stands out quite a lot. So maybe pink is like the Lost Records universe of games. Like that might be a strong connection with like Lost Records. No, sorry. Pink might be a strong connection with Bloom and Rage, for example. They might keep the blue part of the logo, Don't Nod, and then change the colors around for different games in the Lost Records universe. That's just some food for thought potentially. But as I said, we'll continue the trailer. Okay, so the first key point is here. I just want to pick up something. The controller. That's not the first time we've seen the controller. If you remember a while back, we got the first teaser image from the game outside of the videotape. We talked about it in StrangeCast. I think I did a video on it on the channel as well. There was an entire living room, and it had a console, it had a controller, it had a TV, it had all kinds of VHS tapes and stuff. I think this is where one of our listeners, Dream Prism, Dreamwalker from StrangeCast, like talked about like the theories like what you tried to pick off from the tapes and stuff. I mean, got a band reference. Like there was all kinds of stuff that was in that room, if anything. But the controller is evident in this trailer. It is there next to the camcorder. You do see it in that initial teaser image. That initial teaser image was quite interesting. I always think that the cartridge that was in the center of the room in the console, which has like a bit of a scary monster kind of vibe thing on it, I think that's going to be very relatable to this game. I think that's, as I said, we talked about It Part 2 seems to have influenced this game. There's so many like parallels you can draw with It Part 2 and this. I talked about it for ages, and even with It Part 2 as well, when you watch that film, those characters come back together because of Pennywise. Like they have to come back because this evil entity comes for them, and it's like that's their reunion for it. It's like this evil force brings them together. Maybe we see the same in this game. There's like an evil force that brings these characters together, and maybe that cartridge that's in the console is a reference to what our spooky monster, our Pennywise, will be in this game essentially. But yeah, the controllers there in itself, I thought I'd point that out. The camcorder is an interesting one as well. I think that's something we'll come on to later as well. But like this is one of the characters picking up the camcorder. Not a huge amount else I'm going to blow your mind with as well in this part of the scene that I've seen, if anything. Can't really read much on the actual on the text of the VHS tapes. There's nothing really there that stands out. So we'll continue on. But as I said, I'm not trying to blow your mind with things. I'm just talking from what I've seen, if anything, from this trailer. Okay, so we'll freeze on this. There wasn't much I could get from the amp. Just loads of stickers. I feel very nostalgic watching this trailer. It makes me feel so old. But I want to stop here as well because a lot of people have theorized on this, and even myself as well. This is the character that shouts into the microphone. We have music playing in the background from the Nora Kelly band. That music isn't available on streaming services, by the way. I did check that. The Nora Kelly band posted something about Lost Records on their Instagram page as well, and they basically, suggested that this is an original original song they've made for this game. So hopefully we see that further down the line. But one of the theories was as well, and including with people and myself, that this character is Nora in the game because that will be a reference to the Nora Kelly band. It's the only character that speaks into the mic. Either way, we have like a band here at the minute. We have two of them that are playing on stage, but I wanted to bring that up as well because I think that's quite interesting and something that I think we all universally agree on, that this character probably is Nora from what we've seen so far. So I'm going to stop here. I got really chills here as well. Just seeing from the creators of Life is Strange, it gives me real chills that just seeing that in the trailer. But yeah, very excited to see that. And obviously we have two of the characters in this band. We don't know if there's more characters in said band. It feels like the two characters are there. Is ginger haired offensive? The orange haired girl, the orange haired high schooler is there. I don't know if they're all girls. My theory still, there's two characters in there that I believe I know that on Twitter, Michelle has referred to the orange-haired girl with she or her pronoun at some point, and then the character that we think is Nora, who sang, Juliet, has had retweeted an artwork and said she's my favorite or something like that. I can't remember what it was. It's something along those lines, but they had used pronouns there. And again, that doesn't mean that the characters don't change in the future, but I still do think that one of these characters is non-binary. I don't think that they've been very specific with their wording on a lot of things. I don't think that they're all girls. They would have just said that the 4 high schoolers, 4 characters. I feel like they've been very specific with it for a certain reason. Well, we have the 4 characters here. We have kind of like an idea that 2 of them in a band. I don't think the other two are in the band. Maybe we meet other characters who are part of this band as well. Potentially, you never know. One's filming. I'm not going to blow your mind away with all this stuff. So all a lot of details that I couldn't really pick anything out from the posters. And itself, I find the shapes, the moon and stuff like that very interesting on the character on our left with the dungarees on. I find that quite interesting. They're very specific on there. So either way, we'll move on to the next scene. Not much I personally took away from this scene. Obviously, this is the big scene that I think I said this in the which characters are which when I tried to break them down in separate video on Player One versus the World. I think this is our main character. There's 2 times this shot is done in different ways, very much close up on this character. I think this character is our main character. I think this character is what we're going to see the optics through. This character gives big Max Caulfield vibes. I think that I feel like the way they're going to tell the story is going to be very much through this character. It's going to be how this character blossoms, how this character becomes a lot more kind of like, resilient, steps up. I feel like this character is probably going to be shy, a bit quiet. But I think that the way that they do it as well in the trailer as well, and the positioning they have as well, this character keeps moving their hand over their face here, and it feels like you just basically like saying you're seeing it through their eyes as well. Like in itself, this character is the first one in the trailer scene as well, in terms of like, picks up the camcorder, is using the camcorder. Here we go again with another shot where it's like, it very much close up, seeing this character's eye. Quite interesting that they did that. So I think that this character is our main character, personally speaking. I think that they're going to play the biggest role in the entire game. But yeah, we'll move on to the next scene, or the next part of the trailer. By the way, not much I could take away from here. Like, again, I don't know whose room we're in right now. I don't know if that's Lisa the Planet in the background. That'd be quite a nice nod. But I don't know whose room we're technically in at this point. It could be anyone's. It could be Swan's. It could be. I think people have said it might be Swan's because there's a diary journal there. I don't know whose room it could be, but I want to stop it because this shot gives me big Max and Chloe vibes. It really does. Like, I don't know what it is. The character in the background who we can call Nora at this point, if we're going to call her Nora or call them Nora. I find it quite interesting that it's very much Chloe Price vibes there, and just feel like Max sitting next to them. But like, yeah, I'm intrigued by who's who, and in terms of like, or whose room we're in right now. That'll kind of give you a bit more of a. I personally think, by the way, and here's another one. I think whoever's room we're in here is the same house where we got the original image from, which was that one in the lounge with the console there and the controller, because obviously the controller's in the early part of the trailer. I think we're in that person's house. So whose house it is, that's still open for debate, but I do find it quite interesting. And another thing as well, I will say this as well, and I might have come on to it later in the trailer or as we go on. They're wearing the same clothes throughout the trailer. Like, you're basically splicing all these events and all these like main events that are happening. It feels like the characters are wearing the exact same clothes throughout the entire teaser. Is this game set in a very short period, at least at this point in the past? Like, is it going to be like Life is Strange 1? Life is Strange 1 is set in a very small window. This could be very much like Stand By Me. Remember Stand By Me was Stephen King's novel and even the adaptation. If I remember correctly, that basically happens in a day. They go on this adventure, they find their thing, and then when the kids come back, they all go their separate routes. So maybe this happens all in one day, and we'll see it just through that optics, because again, the characters do not change their clothes at any point. Like, they're there in the forest, they're wearing the exact same clothes. So that's just a little bit of a food for thought to think about. Anyway, continue. Yeah, okay, it probably is Swan's room. Like, the book would make sense with the book in there. Yeah, it'll be it's one of these characters' rooms, and we'll assume it's Swan. So that in itself, like, whichever character is Swan, we're going for that optics. Anyway, okay, so we have our 2 characters here, which seem to be love interests. I would assume they're love interests. This would also kind of fit into the narrative a little bit, and especially with the way the teaser trailer is done, because we'll come on to later as well. The character in the purple top is the only one that appears in their adult form at the end of the trailer. And if we're assuming that the first character that we saw, the orange hair character, is our main protagonist, it would make sense for them to kind of like, echo the lines that they do towards the end of the trailer, and also kind of like maybe something happens to our main character. Maybe you switch at some point. That'd be quite interesting. there's going to be a spoiler here for It Part 2. So if you haven't watched that, fast forward ahead and I'll put in the timestamps. But in It Part 2 as well, when the losers come back together, and I'm basing this off of like such a long time of watching that, when the losers come back together and they reunite as adults, I believe one of them dies before. I believe one of them kills themselves instead of reuniting with the others because they know Pennywise comes back, and they're kind of scared about it and they don't want to reunite with it. That could be a potential. We might not even see all 4 characters when they're older, potentially. That could be like a little bit of a complete left curve, but it also might as well come down to the fact that it could be a character's kidnapped potentially by the entity, very similar to like in very much like a Pennywise scenario where a character is kidnapped or like a character goes missing or a young kid goes missing. It could be something like that happens. So that would be quite interesting. But I think that this character will also have a big role to play because they'll be linked with this character. You know, the purple haired character, the purple shirt character will be linked very much with the orange haired character. I personally think that this trailer breakdown would be so much easier if they gave us the names, man. Give us the names. Anyway, let's go. So not much given away here. Obviously, the you know, it's very much Life is Strange vibes here when like, you know, they're sitting down and here and it's like, oh, it's cool. Anyway, not much given away here, except for the fact that the camera changes as well here at this point. Because remember, the orange-haired character had the camera at first and was recording. You know, it's going to have that vibe of being a young, youthful band, and you're going to be like, you know, recording a video. We knew it. We knew it when you were younger. If you're part of my generation, you'll know that experience. But I would assume that our character, if we're going to call him Nora, the short-haired person, owns the camera because they're now holding the camera, which is quite interesting. This is the only point where the camera changes as well. Like someone else is now occupying the camera. It would be just as safe to assume that it is their camera because they're in a band. They're probably filming for their band, and everyone used to do it in the 90s. Like, oh man, Luke Michel make people feel old with this. Just you're so old that the 1990s is being used as like the setting point of this game. But yeah, I just thought it quite interesting. Like, I'm not going to tell you much more about the shoes and stuff. Like, I can't really break much about that. I'm a big fan of Converse, so obviously I like some of these like Converse-esque shoes. But I found it quite interesting in these like, you know, this segment where it's like the camera has changed. So it's like the orange-haired character doesn't always have the camera. So let's see what happens there. Maybe someone else records the events. Maybe not. Who knows? But either way, the camera is still there, but it's in someone else's hand. Let's fast forward. So we are now at the forest. Very Stranger Things vibes, which I get from this part of the trailer. Not much, you know, I can't really say that much else happens here. You see them playfully bantering around. You see characters interacting with each other. Interesting enough, this is the first point in the trailer, if anything, that the orange-haired character interacts with the character with short hair. Obviously, they're recording the band and they're recording other stuff, but this is the first point that they like interacted, which I find quite interesting. Not talk to each other, but interacted. I don't know if the relationships are as pure as it seems with these characters. Because even with the short-haired character here, you have there's still in when they're on the pier. They're on that, like, you know, on top of that wooden plank, and they're sitting there, and they nudge the dungaree person next to them. So I do find the relationships quite interesting just from the trailer and who's interacting with who. That's quite a thing to hear, but nothing much else here. You know, they're playfully messing around here, you know, cigarettes, whatever else, and I'm gonna just continue on here at this point because not much else to say. Okay, so we've got this still at this point, which is, you know, the characters running through the forest. Are they running away from something? That's something else before. Are they running away from the cabin that's on fire later on? Is it a cabin? Something that's on fire later on? Maybe they're evading that scene. Are they being chased by something? A lot of questions to be asked. We have a little deer here as well. Very reminiscent of Life is Strange. Very much reminds me of the doe a little bit. Obviously, does don't have antlers, as someone said on the other video. That was a long night, right? Give me a little bit of a break. But anyway, not much here except for the fact that, are they running away from something? Have they done something? You know, that's all I can really say at this point. But anyway, let's continue. Oh, so we have the first still, which is the forest is on fire. This could also be a precursor to that previous segment I was talking about where they're running away from something. Maybe they're running away from what they've caused here, which is like this forest fire that basically happened. We have a character out here. This is the dungaree character, because obviously we can see that with the headphones that they've got on. They're currently screaming from the sound looks of things. So that's quite interesting to have them there. Very much before Storm vibes get from here. It's very much reminds of the Rachel and Chloe stuff, but that's a different developer in itself. But yeah, that's quite interesting that they seem to be on the outside. And then obviously, if we move forward in the trailer, we have two of our characters inside. So we have our character in the purple top, and we have our Nora figure character, the one with the short hair. Both inside, both look like they're in a cabin of sorts. It looks like a cabin or something like that. I can't really tell. Again, very interesting. The orange-haired character has disappeared. That's quite interesting that they're not here. Like we've seen three of the characters here. The orange-haired character is not here so far in the trailer, but it seems like something has happened here. Only knows what has happened here. So, anyway, let's continue. So, just on this still, it seems like the characters have escaped. It seems like they've escaped, just because of I find that shot interesting with the four of them, where the camera spins very quickly and shows the four characters. I tried to freeze that at certain points to see if something is told in there. I didn't really see much, but then obviously we have our character here that falls backwards, with their head on the ground. Very much again reminds me of Chloe for some reason. This character gives me big Chloe Price vibes, but it seems like they're outside. It seems like they must have escaped the cabin at that point because it looks like we're outside in the forest. The fire is still going, but it does seem like they were outside. So, let's see how things roll out with that. But anyway, let's continue on. And again, our shot again of the close up of the character. I tried to I was looking closely at their eye, hoping that we'd see something. The only thing that we see is the dot there, which I assume would be the reflection of the fire or something, but I couldn't really tell anything else from this. I just find it very interesting that this is the character we get close-ups of. I think there's more meaning to that than that. Otherwise, you'd put focus on other characters, but the fact that this character has a close-up twice in the same trailer, in a minute-long trailer, there's more to it than meets the eye here. No pun intended. Okay, so we're at one of the most interesting points in the trailer. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this or mentioned it. I did mention it on Play One vs. World's Twitter page, which you should go and follow, because we do put a lot of updates out there, and it's just a theory that I had. I imagine someone else to see it. It's not that hard, but with the four characters, they're walking forward and they're moving towards this hole. Michelle has teased around with it on Twitter, looking in there. One of the characters doesn't continuously look at the hole. So for this entire segment of the trailer, they'll all continue to look in the hole. Our character, who's the singer, who's the Chloe Price-esque figure, the Nora character we've dubbed her, or dubbed them. This is the character that breaks away very slightly, just slightly breaks away, looks at the other characters, and then looks back into the hole. I found that quite interesting. Every other character is looking into that hole in a trance-fixated state. This character just briefly moves their head to everyone else, looks, and then moves back to the hole. I found it one of the most interesting parts of the trailer, and it just seems to be it hasn't completely been picked on by a lot of people, but I found that one of the most interesting segments, and I only picked up on it after I watched it a couple of times. I watched it back and I was like, hang on a minute, this scene, something happens here, and that's just quite interesting. This character started looking at everyone and then looks back, and it's what do they know? Are they affected by what's been seen? Dun dun dun. So I thought that was quite a little subtle thing from the trailer. It seems to be the most subtle addition, if any, out of all of it. So anyway, we'll continue on from this point. We're near the end anyway. Just on the screen again. So we have the rewind part here, and that little static VHS effect, which I think some of you won't even realize as well, depending on your age. But this is why I find it quite interesting, because it feels like what we've seen in the trailer, it seems like we're living this memory through what the characters are now. I think the older version of the characters will be more important than the younger characters in terms of will we playing as the older characters, I think, personally. And then we go back to younger selves and relive the memories. But it's quite interesting that it seems, I think that these events all happen in a day, if anything. I think that because of how we've seen the clothes and stuff, I think that this is a day in the life of them. I think that's where the Stand By Me vibes will happen big for them. So in itself, we'll get to the last part of this trailer, and then we can wrap this video out. And we're near the very much end of the trailer, which is our reveal of one of our characters in their older form. And obviously in the audio for the trailer, we have The character saying, "It's been 27 years, y'all. Why now? Because we made a promise." And then obviously the story in itself is for Lost Records, Bloom Rage is 27 years of no contact later. Fate reunites them to confront the long buried secret that made them promise to never speak again. In itself, as well, it says fate reunites them. It doesn't say all 4 characters come back together. Just some food for thought there as well, because I think in itself this scene is quite interesting because out of all the characters you could pick, they pick just one. Even in their eyes as well, you can't really see a reflection of like maybe other characters they're talking to. Who are they talking to? Are they talking to all 3 of the other characters? Are they just talking to 2 of them? All quite interesting to speculate about at this point because, like, in itself, one of these characters could go missing and it brings them all back together. There's something that brings people back together. I think like that's why I said with it part 2 vibes I was talking about earlier in the video and in general across other videos. Something brings people back together. They did that with it part 2. It's like Pennywise is back. The losers need to come back together. They need to like reunite and join forces at this point. And something really powerful has to come back. So it could be. It could potentially be that little entity that we saw on the cartridge in that image that they shared from us from the Don't Nod Montreal game. That could be like a reference to this being or this monster. Because again, they're running through a forest. What's chasing them? Are they running away from something? Is something chasing them? It could be like that. It could be that creature. It could be something there. So we're at the end of this trailer as well, and I can't really tell. I tried to move the camera around, and you couldn't really see if this character still had the green hair, as we saw earlier in the trailer. Obviously, the green coloring on their jacket seems to be a little bit of a reference to that color that they had. And yeah, that's it. I couldn't really pick out much else from this point as well. Like, there's not much else you can see from the image. It's quite cool seeing the older version. The engine looks amazing as well, using Unreal 5, and also just the visuals as well look great. But yeah, I found it quite interesting that we end here, and it's like this is the character we pick, and it's like, are they talking to all 3 characters that are there? The other 3 characters, are they just talking to 2 of them? What's happened to one of them? Has one been like maybe kidnapped, or something brings people back together, doesn't it? Like you have to think about it as well in terms of this still. Think about the first Life is Strange as well. Max and Chloe reunite in that game, but they don't reunite with the intention of the way that they do in terms of it's not about Max coming back to Arcadia Bay and meeting Chloe and reuniting. It's because fate put them back together. Like otherwise, Max might not even have ever reached out to Chloe at that point, or Chloe might not reach out to Max knowing it, because relationships sever. You see that in the entire 5 episodes of Life is Strange. Their relationship has to come back together in some kind of way, shape, or form because 5 years have passed. Max has been away from Arcadia Bay. It's not necessarily easy for people just to reunite because that's not what happens with people. If you probably don't yourself, try and reunite with someone 5 years after you like previously knew about them. You're different people. So it's like this in itself for 27 years in that massive time jump, something big has to bring them back together. It might be like something happens to one of the characters potentially. That could be like a little bit of a left field where it's like actually they've gone missing or they're being kidnapped, and it's like that's also the catalyst that's cause all these other things. So in itself, a lot to speculate with, and the trailer continues on after this character speaking, and it goes straight to the big reveal. It's Lost Records, Bloom Rage, late 2024, with from Don't Nod coming on to PS5, coming on to PC, coming to Xbox. So all quite interesting. We'll wrap the trailer out here because I don't think anything else happens off the top of my head. No, it doesn't. So we just have loads of purple color, and that circle as well in the Lost Records part. It seems to be seems quite interesting that they missed that part of that top part of the circle off. Anyway, I think we can wrap it up here. I'm sorry if I didn't blow your mind. If anything, it's a minute trailer, and I'm only putting my theories and speculations out there. But I think there's little bits of details you can pick up on. And I think the main one for me, if anything, was obviously the controller was there in the early part of the trailer, which was a reference to what we saw in the early still. And then also on top of that, we also saw one of the characters look away from the others. Like, when all of them look in that hole, they're a bit transfixated. There's one that looks away briefly, and I thought that was very interesting just to pick up on. But either way, that's my trailer breakdown. I don't know how this is going to go because I need to edit it, and it's pretty long, and I've never done anything like this before. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know your theories in the trailer, what you've seen. I know one of our commenters, and mentioned in a video, Life is 2D, like has spoken about some of the lyrics from the Nora Kelly band. They like dissect them completely, and we'll bring that up on a StrangeCast episode to talk about. But it's quite interesting that they were able to like pick apart all the lines. I'm really terrible. I just think I hear completely different things. So yeah, I think that'll be. I think maybe the fact that they haven't given us the song for the trailer so far and like the lyrics, it probably will give us a bit more of the story, I think, in the longer term. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on the trailer. If you picked up anything that I didn't notice, or if there's any other theories, I'd love to hear them. But either way, we'll wrap up out here. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully, the next one is a little bit more, seamless. Again, never done something like this before, but I thought I'd share with you guys. But anyway, if you did enjoy this video, please do like the video, share with your friends, comment as well, and subscribe as well to the channel. Again, helps support the channel. It's a very small channel, and we'll keep doing a lot more of this content. A lot more Lost Records content will come to this channel. We'll keep focusing and covering it all the way up to release. So it's quite exciting times, if anything. Okay, so I'm just re-recording the outro quickly here because it's a little bit dated. That was recorded in 2023. It was recorded in December, on Christmas Day, actually, and I'm feeling a lot better since then. So unfortunately, like, there was a lot of cutting there because I just was so unwell during the entire process. So I hope you were able to bear with me with that. But as I said, I'm feeling a lot better. Just wanted to clarify a couple of things, which was the fact that I keep calling it Part 2. I know it's It Chapter 2 afterwards. I will try and bear that in mind going forward. And also with the Stand By Me thing, it's not set in one day. It's set over a little bit more of a longer period of time. I did double check it, but it feels like it's one day. It just does feel like it's one day. But just for clarification on that. And then one last thing as well. The part where I say that there's when the camera spins around, it shows all the characters. It doesn't show all the characters. It shows just 3 of the characters. So again, it kind of adds credence to the theory of, hey, actually, the orange haired character is probably our main character because that's the only one that doesn't appear in the spin moment that we see in that trailer. So just wanted to put that out there. But anyway, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for staying by with me whilst I was ill during that entire process, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. We'll probably be StrangeCast because I'm currently recording this on the 12th of January. So as of tomorrow, me and Adam will be recording a new StrangeCast. So take care, guys. See you later. Bye.